Welcome into episode number 6 of the Mavs Pulse podcast. I'm your host, Blake Elliott. I'm joined by the great Grant Afseth, who's at all 82 games. Even was in Mexico City this past weekend. Maybe got a little bit of food poisoning. You got to wait and see what happened with that. He was there for that unfortunate loss to the Detroit Pistons. The Mavs fall to 2-4 as they lose 122-110. I will give myself a slight pat on the back. I did predict that score on the fan this week. I mean, I said 121 to 111, but if you move the point, take it over to the Mavs, practically got it right. One thing that me and Grant both have right is the Mavericks are not a good basketball team right now. They're 2-4. They are second to last in the West, only in front of the winless Pelicans. So take that for what it is. But we're going to discuss that Pacers game where we saw Anthony Davis get hurt. We'll talk about his injury here in just a second. We're going to talk about that Pistons game in Mexico City, what we've learned from the lineups and rotations from Jason Kidd, who stood out, who needs to be on the bench, who's stepping up and needs some more minutes, as well as all the other injuries with the Dallas Mavericks, where they're at. We're monitoring those. Grant has been with the team and kind of figuring those things out. So, boom. When we come back, this is where you want to sponsor the show. We talk about how great your product is and how you're the best ever. Okay, Grant. We saw the Pacers game was on Wednesday, and I believe Tuesday we saw the bilateral Achilles tendinopathy. And for those of you who don't know what that means, I don't really either, but I feel like just using the words, I do know bilateral means both. Achilles, we all know what that is. And tendinopathy, I think, means like soreness, achiness. And really the only way to alleviate that is to not play, to rest. But Grant, what did they do on Wednesday instead of alleviate that pressure and rest them?
He plays 7 minutes, grabs at his Achilles/ankle area, and doesn't play again and misses the following game as well.
And Mavs fans took a huge gasp when that happened. It's like, oh my gosh. You see Luka dropping 40. I hate to open up that new wound, but it is what it is. It's going to happen. And then you got Anthony Davis grabbing at his leg. That was Wednesday night versus Patriots. I'm sure all of you guys have seen that by now. We have not seen him in a game since. He didn't return to that game. Apparently, he wanted to return, but Jason Kidd didn't want him to come back, yada, yada, yada. I said, we're not going to hear any definite report on this weekend of where he's at. We got he's going to be out for 2 games to reevaluate. They called it left lower leg calf soreness.
Yeah, calf strain, where the grade or severity, I think, has to be determined by the reevaluation, but definitely enough just to keep him out for now.
So when it comes to, do we know like an exact date of when he'll be reevaluated? Obviously, with the Mavericks being in Mexico City against the Pistons this weekend, when should Mavs fans be kind of looking for an update? What are you thinking as far as that timetable goes?
Yeah, they had said it'll happen after the road trip, so I'm assuming could be as early as Tuesday. Not sure if we'll get a communicated update then, because usually the Mavs keep injury information close, to the vest. So we'll have to, see as that plays out, but definitely will occur after that road trip.
And I want to make a small note real quick. The Dallas Mavericks in that game without Anthony Davis, they win the game. But for those who didn't watch, I wouldn't say it was the prettiest game they played against Pacers. The Pacers were playing with their E team out there. I mean, Mac McClung's out there who got signed 2 days before the game. You had a bunch of no names. Even for me and Grant, who covered this team, I'm not gonna lie, there was a couple people on there. I was like, who was it out there for the Pacers? And they hung in with them. They actually had a chance to win it at the buzzer. What was it? Aaron Nesmith with the 3 off the missed free throw has a wide open look to win the game and misses it. I think he ended the game like 2 of 16 or 2 of 13 or something like that. He was abysmal from shooting the ball. But the Patriots had a chance to win. The Mavericks had no bigs because obviously AD was already out, or AD had left the game in the first quarter. You had no Daniel Gafford for that game. You had no Derrick Lively. Dwight Powell was getting MVP chance. MVP. Grant, do you think it was kind of a slight at Nico/Anthony Davis, the fact that they were chanting for Dwight Powell? And then what'd you take away from that Pacers game?
Yeah, I think in terms of the MVP chance, I think with how they were starting the season, there's just not a whole lot to appreciate right now. Yeah, so someone has been there for forever, just showing them some appreciation. Dwight has said he doesn't think he's ever gotten those chances before, so that was cool for him to, get some love from the crowd, despite, the team's tough start. But the Pacers game, I think just to kind of build on it, my main takeaway is really just like how fortunate it was they caught them on the night they caught them because, as you mentioned, they shot really poorly. Aaron Nesmith shot 2 of 16, as you mentioned. The team overall, Indiana was about 35% from the floor, 29% from three, 64% from the line. And if you look against the Warriors when they got their first win of the season, because they were winless, 0-4 going into the game against Dallas, they had quite a few explosive performances. Aaron Nesmith had 31, Quentin Jackson at 25, and Pascal Siakam at 27. Like, they still got very minimal bench production in that game just because, as we mentioned as well, they just are so depleted. It's tough to get like a balanced scoring outing overall from such an injured team. But, had someone gotten hot the way they did outside of Pascal Siakam and Jarris Walker against the Mavs, they very well could have lost that game. So they were fortunate to not catch the Pacers on the night where at least somebody went off. But again, against Golden State, they still shot only 30.3%. So it was a must win against a team that is just so injury depleted. And in this league, you have to win ugly sometimes, even if it's against a bad team. And for how much the Mavs have struggled, they did manage to win ugly, at least to carry that into Mexico City, but weren't able to turn that into like stable momentum.
Well, that was one of the Mavs. One of their 2 wins they've gotten this year was against a Raptors team that has looked a little bit better as of late, but it's not a great basketball team. Let's call it what it is. And then the Pacers, who were playing their G League squad and had 0 wins when you beat them. All the other games you've obviously lost. You're 2-4, second to last in the West, as I mentioned in the opener. Let's transition to this Pistons game. Take us behind the scenes, Grant. You were with the team in Mexico City. You were able to see everything that was going on. International game. Can we call it an international game? I think we can. International game. Fun little setup. What was kind of the behind the scenes, the little hotel setup, all the ambiance outside. Maybe even talk about the food as well.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting experience. Like, the whole street leading into the arena was like a ton of bootleg NBA merchandise, or may not have been bootleg, very strongly assuming bootleg. But it was like cool to just see people from, a different country, like the players they were supporting, like throwback Isaiah Thomas jerseys, because the Pistons have been going back there for a while, same as the Mavs, but I think they played their first game like in the 90s. So I'm sure some of those fans have been Pistons fans for a very long time. So seeing that was cool. And then just also the support for former like NBA players from, that part of the world. They were really excited for them. Like Eduardo Nahara, they were really excited for him when they showed him on the Jumbotron, and just overall, like just going into the practice in the game as well. There's just tons of media there covering, the practice in the games, and really, locked in on, talking to, Clay, Anthony Davis, J Kidd, and Cooper Flagg, and just that overall presence globally. That's something that has always been interesting, because I also cover like other global games as well, like Abu Dhabi. There was tons of media there, and then like World Cups and stuff like that, like just in different parts of the world, like Asia. So like just overall, like lots of footprint for the game that they're continuing to grow. And there was other like former players that were legends of the game that they called them, and had them there too, like Shawn Marion. He was actually on my flight down there, so I was guessing who's going to be one of the legends, and I was like, well, that killed the guessing game for me.
How close were y'all on the plane to each other?
Well, I will say this, because of how often I fly, if I see someone like Shawn Marion, I get a little disappointed, because I know I'm not getting upgraded, because I know he's flying first class. I got upgraded on my way back, so I knew I was like, dang, I'm not moving up this time. But yeah, he was like the main former NBA guy that wasn't from that general region that was there, and it was cool like for media there to interact with him. And he also shared some insight or his thoughts on Cooper Flagg, and he said that he was impressed with his passing, and he's confident he's gonna figure it out overall. But just in terms of the experience too, wasn't ideal. I don't know exactly what caused it, but food poisoning is not fun. So that sucked. But I'm glad I'm back, and it was cool.
Was the food poisoning pre or post Pistons game?
It was pre Pistons game, so I had to really gear up to build up to go cover that one, and made it through that one, and I had 2 hours of sleep before I flew back.
Oh my.
Yeah,
This is why I say in the opener, hardest working beat reporter, journalist, Mavs coverage person, Grant. I mean, this guy's going to Mexico City, getting sick, still covering the game, 2 hours of sleep, back here at home so we could film the podcast. So salute to you, Grant. On a negative note, the Mavs lost this game, and for the first 3 quarters looked highly competitive. You saw D'Angelo Russell have I don't want to say easily his best game because he's had good outings, but as far as a scoring output, when he knocked down 6-7 threes for the Dallas Mavericks, and he shot them all very confidently. I mean, that's been the thing with D'Lo. He's not someone that he has to be wide open to shoot a three. And sometimes you need a guy like that, whether it goes down or not, just for the threat of having defenses play up a little bit. And D'Angelo Russell has no problem letting it fly. I liked what you saw from D'Lo. They limited the turnovers in the first 3 quarters, and that's why I think you saw the Mavs keep the game close. That's a huge thing for the Mavs because, as me and Grant discussed before the show, everyone listening at home, try to guess where the Mavs rank in opponent fast break points allowed. They rank last. They give up the most, 21, 22 points per game as far as fast break. They're dead last in that. They're also dead last in offensive rating. So they have to maximize every single possession. They cannot give the ball away. They cannot let the other team get extra possessions. That's how they're going to fall out of games, and that's what happened in that fourth quarter. But before we get into the weeds of it, I want to give shout out to Max Christie, who I think every single game is showing why he should be on the court. To me, there's obviously we can nitpick and find negatives, but there's not, in the grand scheme of the Mavericks, there's not that many negatives in Max Christie. I think he's giving you a lot of positive offensive things, moving without the ball, knocking down threes, and then obviously the defensive side of things. And I think he's growing as a playmaker and a creator, and I don't think he's going to be the one to set up the offense, but every once in a while as a secondary guy, he can find a cutter. He can be the one cutting. He can be the one moving the ball around. He's a great extra passer, selfless guy. So I've got nothing but good things to say about Max Christie. Already gave my love to D'Lo. Cooper Flagg, I'm still not on the he didn't have a great efficiency night shooting the ball, but I think it's just so much of he doesn't know where to fit in. He doesn't know, is it my turn to be aggressive? Is it my time to pass? Is it my time to get the ball to my playmakers? He's still trying to figure things out. You still see the skill when he's able to get the ball in his hands, and the 3-point shot went 8 of 8 on free throws, had some big drives late in that game. But what were your overall takeaways from that Pistons game?
Yeah, I think first 3 quarters, they were really strong, scored 30 or more in each of them. Really rough fourth quarter, only 17 points to the Pistons 35. Turnovers became a problem. It was a problem all night because in terms of the differential, Detroit only had 7. If you're not turning a team over and you're getting destroyed in the paint, I think they gave up 72 points in the paint. Jalen Duren was just like bullying them. He had 33 and 10. Cade Cunningham was getting just about anywhere he wanted. He had 21 and 18. Like it just didn't seem like he worked too hard throughout the night and just trusted his teammates, especially in transition. He just had to draw attention and just make the right basketball play, and he did it like all night. That just was a real issue, and I think there were stretches where they just really struggled to contain anybody, like in particular. Like Tobias Harris was able to have a nice stretch where he was going off a little bit. He still shot 3 of 12, but it was still some like multi-possession stretches where they could have been better against, him. I thought Asar Thompson, they were really sagging off of him, and he made them pay. He had 15 overall in the game. He shot 6 of 12. They were really like leaving him blatantly wide open. A lot of teams do, but he was able to get way too deep in the paint for finishes and floaters. And he even had a wide open 3 that he knocked down in the corner where Cade Cunningham, just was trusting him, making the right play. And he was aggressive taking that shot. He doesn't take many threes, took 2 overall, but that was one of the examples of one of the many things that could go wrong, did go wrong, when you add up all the things in this game. But, I thought in terms of more of a Mavericks focus with Daniel Gafford coming back. I
forgot to mention that. Yeah, Daniel Gafford came back.
Yeah, he made his return. He played 17 minutes. Jason Kidd going into the game mentioned that he would be restricted to 15 to 18 in that range. So he he honestly didn't get many opportunities to score. Detroit did a great job of protecting the paint. He finished with 7 points, 4 rebounds. He had a tough time with Jalen Duren, but I think that was a really rough situation to come back in. Mexico City's elevation is really rough. Like, that's even substantially higher than Denver. So that's a pretty tough, environment to play in your first game back. And
against a team that likes to run, like they like to get up and down.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough matchup for that, especially as well. And then I thought, PJ, he's someone that's played a ton of minutes. He's played really well this season, but shooting wise, he really struggled. Shot 3 of 16 from the floor. Had some nice drives, but shot 0 of 6 from 3. That really hurt the Mavs because he's someone that right now, especially with them having to go with lineups where he's playing the 5, they really need high level offense from him. Yeah. And on a night where Cooper Flagg shot 3 of 14. That was tough overall when 2 of your starting perimeter players are combined 6 of 27. Clay, still limited minutes, barely seeing him after halftime, played 20 overall. But, we can't go without mentioning D'Angelo Russell. He was really fantastic. I think the box score, was very obvious for that. 31 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Had some unfortunate turnovers late in the game during clutch time. But 10 of 17 from the floor, 7 of 13 from 3. I thought there was things that didn't show in the box score that I really liked from him. He was really intentional about, directing his teammates offensively like a true guard. Like he was really intentional about working the ball, to his teammates on the roll. Like he had communication with PJ Washington. I noticed midway through the second quarter where he was really like telling him, like if you roll, I'm going to find you. And then they connected later on, and that really kind of tied the offense together. Like, I think that's a presence that they need in the starting lineup to really make things easier on Cooper Flagg. Like, I'm all for the developmental, element of, like, as Jason Kidd has said, like, in general, like on the surface level of, we're doing things now to pay off in April. But with the way the start of the season's going and injuries can happen, I think you got to put players, in my personal opinion, of course, we're not coaches, but I think you have to get to April and be in a position to play April basketball beyond the regular season to then worry about that at this stage with how last season ended.
That's my thing. I hear a bunch of people saying, he's doing the same thing he did with Giannis in Milwaukee. Fun fact, that's kind of what got Jason Kidd run out of Milwaukee. And Giannis was in his 4th season and is 6'11". And like an absolute freak of nature.
He also played point guard early in his basketball career. Like when they were discovering him, he was a point guard, if I'm not mistaken. When I was in the past, when I've heard about his like kind of developmental progression, like that was what his role was. And then also to this day, he's not playing like true point guard in terms of position where they're lining, like putting him on the lineup at the 1. He's playing the 4.
They traded for Dame. They in Giannis's peak in his prime, they traded for Dame. Obviously, it didn't work out, but it's just the logistics of they wanted a point guard. There's been a point guard most of the time. Can Cooper Flagg play point guard at certain positions or certain times of the game? Yes. Me and Grant have said this almost on every single episode. Yes, he can play point guard. He can bring the ball up. He's an athletic. He's a smart guy with the ball in his hands. We get that. But you're just putting too much pressure on him. And every time we see him at his best, then there's another point guard out there. And he's able to be the secondary guy. And I'll say a positive spot. I've liked the kind of pull-up threes, whether it's off a screen or catching it off a curl. He shoots the 3-ball confidently, and that was a big thing coming in. Now, does it always go in? No. But that was a big thing coming in, is like how consistent and how confident will he be shooting the 3-ball. And you can check his 3-point percentage for me, Grant, but I feel like he shot it at a pretty decent clip. I don't think he's jacking up 8 or 9 a game and making 1 or 2 from just without looking at the stats. I would think he's kind of been 2 of 6 most nights, 3 of 7 most nights, somewhere around there. So I liked what I've seen from Coop. I'm still in the Coop hype train. As far as rookie of the year, I mean, VJ Edgecombe, he's coming for that. So Cooper's going to have to step it up a little bit with that. But overall, I think we need to see more D-Lo. I think that shows itself every game. I don't think it takes a genius to figure that out. D-Lo in the starting lineup. Daniel Gafford, you got to have him in there now that you have a center, because I love Dwight Powell. It's my pookie. But it just ain't enough. Him at the center position. And PJ, even like PJ at the 5, it sounds fun. Like if you're playing NBA 2K, I'm going to run PJ at the 5. We're going to go up and down. Everybody can shoot. But then you give up 70 points in the paint. And you have no defensive presence. You have no lob threat. You have no, like in a pick and roll game, they're all ready for the pick and pop. There's no roll because they are like, PJ Washington's not going to go post up Jalen Durant or Stewart. So I thought it was interesting. You're seeing different lineups literally every game from Jason Kidd. Jaden Hardy didn't even play in this game. Brandon Williams and D'Lo were both in the game at the same time. Caleb Martin was getting minutes. So it was an interesting game. Any closing thoughts about the Pistons before we get into our preview for the rest of this week?
Yeah, I think for the most part, just looking at like what we're talking about in terms of the impact of not having like traditional guards on the floor at times, I think the overall efficiency in the half court, something that we should note. Cooper Flagg has been, really inefficient. Actually, so is PJ. Like, I think they would really benefit from having more of a guard presence, like 0.782 points per possession for Cooper Flagg. That's 123rd out of 133.
I'm acting like you didn't say that. I'm acting like you didn't say that.
And then PJ is at 0.73 points per possession, which is even lower, 128. Like PJ's had some really awesome transition drives and finishes, or he's like just like playing through contact, veer stepping and making a floater. Like he's done that really awesome plays. But like in a half court, I think there's just a lot of situations where they're put in tough, just sequences where they're better off having a balance of less playmaking and more play finishing. And you can only have that by having another playmaker out there. I guess to get into the whole offensive structure, like last night, what we looked at, with not having Anthony Davis especially out there, they were trying to get that more modern offense that you see from a lot of other teams running, where they're just trying to not even get into an action. Sometimes they're just trying to blow by somebody and drive and kick. Like even PJ Washington, or especially PJ Washington, if he's bringing the ball up and he has a mismatch that he likes, or just a matchup in general that he likes,
bulldoze.
He's going to bulldoze. He's going to push crossover, draw help, and then kick it. And the problem that I have with some of this stuff with this personnel, it's not necessarily like the PJ, like the initial like attack. The problem is they have too many players that are like hesitating on the catch. Like they're not fluidly just aggressively taking the three. There's times where, like, I guess Caleb Martin, someone that kind of stands out to me at times in these games, where he's not looking at the rim. He's just automatically making the extra pass. And then that kind of stalls the offense or puts the next player in a tough position where they're taking a three against a closeout. Like, I think they're going to have to find the right balance between that read and react approach, where they're trying to get, below that free throw line area and playing on the sides of the floor and just getting into, penetration and kick opportunities, with like more efficient structure with a guard that's creating advantages. And I thought we saw that with D'Angelo Russell in this game. It wasn't just like a fixation on the shot making where we're like, oh, just because he made shots, we think everything's great and we need more D'Angelo Russell. Yeah. I thought he brought more organization, and Jason Kidd talked about that after the game. But he's just really keen right now on that long-term developmental angle, and I guess that's just going to be the push-pull that we'll see throughout this early part of the season, where how much can they benefit from that developmental focus while not sacrificing winning basketball games, and then also throwing in all the injuries and stuff. Like, their offense naturally changes when Anthony Davis isn't out there. So that style that I just like talked about, it's different when Anthony Davis is out there. So they're not even getting the same structural look on a night-to-night basis based off who's available to play. And that's when you get in a situation where someone like Cooper Flagg and PJ Washington are an inefficient overall half-court performers, and they have to rely more on like transition attack opportunities.
Well, that was a little recap of the Pistons game and the Pacers. When we come back, when you see my face again, we're going to talk about what to look for this week. Boom. That's where we throw in your ad here again. You guys are so awesome. Go get this product. This is the one. Okay, let's wrap it up right here, Grant. Overall takeaways from the last two games, what we've learned about the Jason Kidd rotations, the injury report, where guys are at as far as coming back, and then also the Caleb Martin, Jaden Hardy, what's going on over there? Caleb's getting minutes. Jaden Hardy isn't. Who's hurt? Who's not? And the next game for the Mavs coming.
Yeah, I think something we haven't touched on yet is Derrick Lively. There's nothing really known about the severity of his injury. It got shifted to a knee sprain, which, depending on the grade of that sprain, that could mean a lot of different things. We've seen situations where Derrick Lively has like a less severe sounding injury, then he's like questionable or doubtful, and then all of a sudden he just starts missing a lot of games and just out on the injury report without communicated updates. So that's something to really pay attention to right now, because a knee sprain could be like, I'm not saying it is in this instance, but that could be multi-week situation where it gets a little concerning, or it could be a more short-term thing. But he was not in Mexico City with the team, so my assumption is that he's not going to be in Houston. He's already been ruled out. So staying back away from the team, curious to see what that ends up indicating, like if he needed more like imaging or treatment with the team facility. Like, we'll have to learn more about that overall situation, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on. We also know almost nothing about Dante Exum's injury. All we know is that original comment that Jason Kidd mentioned, that they're taking a long-term approach. I didn't see him in Mexico City either, so he's also kind of just in the injury void right now, I guess.
The injury void, I like that.
Yeah, in the injury void, the Dallas Maverick injury void, with not a whole lot of clarity on the situation. Like, I'm not sure if the situation is a matter of how his body responds to, working out. Like, I've seen at some shoot-arounds where he's in workout gear, and I'm assuming he got at least some level of, shots up or something. So we don't really know too much because we're not in the void right now with them. So not really sure. There's only a minor amount of stuff that we're able to observe.
What do you think from, like, did Gafford look healthy out there? I know his conditioning wasn't there, but as far as the lower leg stuff, did he look healthy out there?
Yeah, he did. I think he took a beating guarding Jalen Duren throughout the night. Like, there was times where he was hunched over. Like, I think the conditioning stuff, like, he's naturally going to have to build that up. He took some hits, but I think he looked pretty normal in terms of, like, he had a great start, but kind of, tailed off in terms of the conditioning throughout the game. I think his wind wasn't quite there.
And then last injury news, and then we'll get into the rotation / Caleb Martin and Jaden Hardy. We got some kind of sources / Jason Kidd saying that Kyrie Irving, he hopes is back in 2025 before 2026 starts, even though he told us at Mavs Media Day, and Kyrie himself told us to, like, not rush it. Don't put a date on it. I'm going to come back when I'm healthy. Jason Kidd echoed that. He's going to come back when he's healthy. We're not rushing it so that you guys can't hold us accountable for saying he didn't come back on this date. And I got it. I literally defended Jason Kidd. I said, hey, that's a smart approach, because otherwise people like me and Grant are going to be like, well, it's December 12th. Where's he at? They were wrong. He's behind, yada, yada, yada. And
I would never do that. I would never. No, we would never do that here.
I applauded Jason Kidd. I was like, okay, I think even though people are going to be mad at you, that's the right thing for your team to do. Then he comes out and he's like, hope he's back for 2025. Things seem to be mentally starting to spiral for the Mavericks. Like, AD's hurt, Lively's hurt, Gafford's hurt. Obviously, Gafford came back. Brandon Williams getting arrested. Exum hasn't played. Caleb Martin's getting minutes. Like, what is, like, the mental state you think of the Mavs, like, inside right now? Like, what they're thinking?
Well, right now, it's not a good sign when you have multiple stars out and the word hopefully is starting your sentences. Like, for Anthony Davis, hopefully AD's back sooner than later was something Jason Kidd said in part of a comment. And then about Kyrie, hopefully it's in the year of 25, not 26. And for a team that dealt with so many injuries after early February through the end of last season, hope being a strategy for injuries is like a really tough situation in the Western Conference that is so loaded. And as we've talked about, it was only a matter of time for teams like the Spurs to take that leap forward when they went from tanking to hopefully be the team that got Cooper Flagg to then being in a win now position, and they're undefeated prior to the end of tonight's game against the Suns. So that's a really rough position to be in. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. But Kyrie Irving, Jason Kidd also mentioned his thought that he'll be a perfect fit alongside Cooper Flagg once he's back from the ACL recovery. And with that, it just kind of takes me back to our last episode when we talked about having a guard next to Cooper Flagg. Like, if your plan is to obviously start Kyrie and Cooper Flagg, wouldn't it make sense to get reps now with D'Angelo Russell?
Crazy thought, Grant. Crazy thought. We're not Hall of Famers. We're not Hall of Famers. Crazy thought though, Grant. You would think.
That is true. What do we know?
What do we know? Well, that was another episode of the Mavs Pulse podcast. We're all just trying to figure it out together. We hope to see you guys on the next episode. Hopefully the Mavericks have it done. What's the next Mavericks game?
The Houston Rockets on Monday. And building on that, Cooper Flagg is also, he talked about figuring it out too. One of the media members from Mexico had asked him like his message to people that are kind of concerned about his start because, the shooting numbers aren't where he wants it to be. And he said, it's a tough league. It's a transition. I'm going to keep trusting the work. So seeing how he figures it out in the half court, as we talked about with his efficiency, definitely going to be an important thing to watch like throughout these next couple games. Houston is a tough opponent. They have an easier one on Wednesday against the New Orleans Pelicans, who are 0-6. So that's kind of the table, if you will, that's being set for the next couple games.
Well, we will see you after that Pelicans game. Hopefully it's after a W. Hopefully we get an easy one right there. I'm not very hopeful for the Rockets game, but maybe, I was going to say the double big matchup, but Anthony Davis is hurt, Grant. I forgot. So you won't get Dwight Powell. Maybe Dwight Powell and Gafford. Maybe we'll see that. But that was another episode of the Mavs Pulse podcast. Shout out to all you guys who keep showing love. Leave a comment. Share it with your grandma. Share it with your friends so that they got a little bit of ball knowledge throughout the week. We're in Thanksgiving time. It's November. Halloween and October is over. My favorite month is over. It's time to grind. It's time for the Mavericks to figure it out. And we will see you guys next time. Deuces.